Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Raps is Furnace with me, Robert.
With me, Pete.
Man like Mo, we out here.
Furnace.
Well, technically, this will be the first episode of the new year.
It will be, yes.
Happy New Year, people! We made it. Hopefully, you made it. Hopefully, I made it. Doesn't sound like trying to look good.
Bro, hopefully you made it.
Yo,
But I guess for those who are watching on YouTube, this won't be the first episode of next year.
No,
yeah, you
no.
know what? Let me send this to my wife.
This will be the last episode of this
Of
year.
this year, yeah. And that's an insight to every man listening to us. If you jump on YouTube, you get to see our faces. And you get to see it live as we're recording. Although I guess there isn't like a solid time that is coming out on a weekly basis. You're just literally just gonna have to
Because today's a Friday where we normally do on a Thursday.
hit the notification bell.
There you go.
This should be Patreon exclusive content.
Yeah. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when you start doing this, and then you can just jump in. Yeah.
Man said Patreon, you know.
Hey,
Wow, you need to be monetizing. 2014. What about the money?
yeah.
Just so you.
We need to get 1,000 subscribers at least.
How many you got so
monetize.
far? Let me check.
15.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's the number?
Okay. Let's just say that we got more subscribers than Jesus had disciples, and we'll leave it there.
I mean, when Ade starts chopping, when Ade starts doing his thing, you might get more attention, whether we like it or not.
There you go.
But man, how's everyone's Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas for us was chill. We didn't host, so it was all right to go to my mum's, go to my sister's, have food, chill out with family.
Yeah, we didn't host as well, but we did like family did a bring-in share, so everyone brought something down. It was good, fam. All the kids were just in like wrapping paper heaven.
Yeah,
The front room was just wrapping paper on the floor. You couldn't see the floor anymore. Yeah, but it was good. Yeah. Noah's got more monster trucks than he knows what to do with it. It's crazy.
Nice.
Crazy.
Did
But it was good.
do you guys do Secret Santa again this year?
Yeah, we did. Thankfully, no one got anything they didn't like. I got this Attack on Titans Uniqlo t-shirt. Hard. We did what Peter and Peter's group did, where you put down your suggestions for what you want. My suggestion was just an anime t-shirt with the link to the website. That was it.
There you go.
With the size. I was like, you can't get this wrong. But now I actually want the Kamigawa gym t-shirts, which is Ippo no, Hajime no Ippo. I want their t-shirts.
I'm trying to figure out buying the Christmas Power Rangers jumper. I think it's so sick.
I want everyone to be in the next show, and then we'll just.
His house next year when they said bring your Christmas jumpers in, we need
Furnace just turns up. Yeah, Furnace just turns up.
I'm Red Ranger. I'm calling it. I'm Red Ranger.
Oh, you can be red. I'll be black.
Okay, all right.
I'll be the OG black.
That's where there was going to be conflict, because if someone's going for black, then I have to go for green, innit?
I'll be the OG black.
All right, it's settled.
Let's do it. It's morphin' time.
Come on.
Have you guys seen the Ranger movie, the anniversary one?
No, you told us not to watch it.
Good. All right, let's move on.
Sorry, not sorry. You didn't do one. Yeah. did the game, didn't we?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
we did the game last week. Yeah.
So I think Moses is on then because he missed a couple before that.
Oh, have you got another game though? Have you got another game?
I don't know. Did someone prepare a game?
No, no one
I
prepared a
didn't
game.
prepare a game.
You're the games master. You should always have a game like ready to go.
I had the game.
Yeah,
Last week.
that was last week. That's like saying, "Oh, you had an orgasm last week."
Yesterday's orgasm don't count today, G.
I don't have a game.
Hey.
Sorry.
All right, let's just run. Sorry, not sorry. I'm here for
Yeah,
it. I'm here for it, man. For your questions.
Okay, well, next time, tell me you want a game, and I'll prepare a game.
You should be walking in the spirit. You should know when the spirit is prompting games.
She would be listening.
Well, to be fair, last episode we did say that one of you two would organize the next game.
That's a very good point, Peter.
I can't really say Jack because it's true. Cool. I did have a question last week that has escaped me now. I think
You've got a folder full of questions, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've written it down somewhere. So Robert, if you've got one ready, go ahead. Let's pull this up.
Moses, as a father, how do you ensure that kids be recognizing what the importance of Christmas is rather than just the presents, and do it such a way that they actually know it, and just not like it's about the season, but I'm ready for the thing.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because there's so much excitement around the presents. We get the kids to do Christmas lists, and then we kind of give it to the family members and stuff. So if you want to buy something, just pick from the Christmas list. So they obviously, if you're building a Christmas list, then you have some anticipation of what you're going to be looking for, what you're going to be getting and stuff. But Jamelia is so much more better at this than I am at just talking to them about Christmas, like Jesus, the nativity stuff. And as I said last week as well, what we tend to do is we do like a bye-bye box. So as they get more stuff in, we intentionally give stuff away. We haven't done that this year yet, but yeah, into the new year we will be doing it. Because like if you see the sofa, it's just full of Noah's cars. Like that's how many cars he's got. So Gems and I were actually talking today about giving stuff away. So that's part of what we do to just emphasize that it's not about getting stuff, but there is the spirit of generosity. Jesus coming to die he's the ultimate present. He came to die that we may have eternal life. What are we going to be giving away? How are we kind of living in response to that and stuff? But there's a reality that for Noah, particularly at 4 years old, there's only so much you can grasp. Leah grasps a lot more than Noah at 4. So yeah, it's just a consistency, chipping away at it gradually, year by year. And I guess it's not just something that happens on Christmas, but re-emphasizing it throughout the year, even on Easter or whatever, and just re-emphasizing it throughout the year. And so Christmas just becomes like a highlight rather than the only time that we speak about this. Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy with that. Anything you want to add, Peter?
No, I think Moses was the best one for this question, honestly. Interestingly enough, Anita, like on her own, has also started. She's actually gone through with Zara and sort of packed up a bunch of toys that they're going to go give away. With that same sentiment. So yeah, no, I think Moses hit it bang on the head. Cool. My question, actually, kind of running off of Robert's, but because of something I noticed today, how are you dealing with sort of media consumption from your kids, especially when there seems to be a very intentional, subtle push to normalize non-traditional and anti-Christian lifestyles.
Yeah.
So I asked that specifically because, like something like Coco Melon,
Hmm.
right? Coco Melon I thought was dope because Coco Melon was lots of ABCs, and when
Yeah.
Zara was like a baby, I feel that's probably one of the reasons why she's like got really good with her ABCs, because we
Mm.
just let her watch like those episodes, and something else like what's the other one? There's Coco Melon and then Paw Patrol. Well, Paw
Yeah.
Patrol not as educational, but
Yeah.
all of these ones where there's like normality have spin-offs that introduce, in the case of Paw Patrol, a non-binary character.
Yeah.
In the case of Cocomelon, a homosexual family, two dads. And
Hey,
I just saw today.
isn't that Cody?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The
On
the only black guy in the team's got two
No,
dads.
no, 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 no. Is it? No, 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 no. Not him. Not him. No. So there's a spin-off from Cocomelon.
Okay.
Yeah, with another kid with two dads, right? And then I just saw today, like this evening, CBBS. You know, normally they get someone in to come and tell like a story
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
evenings.
Yeah.
So CBBS has been like, we've sort of turned to CBBS for maybe some of the more current pseudo educational stuff outside of YouTube. Um, and just this evening, I saw Gok One, whatever his face is,
Mm.
on the evening story time thing, talking about how some people have two mummies, some people have two daddies, and that's okay. And the story that he was telling today was about a homosexual couple. I was like, oh, okay, well, it was only a matter of time. So, to some extent, fair
Mm.
enough, because these are all secular shows that don't
Yeah.
presume to have a religious, bent, and so
Yeah.
fair dues on representation.
Mm.
But how are you managing media consumption there?
Yeah.
With are you at all concerned or managing your kids' exposure to some of these ideas?
Bro, Leia started watching this family that keep on doing pranks and keep on doing stuff. Yeah. The family had two mums, and like they had separated from their previous relationships with their kids, and then they're now together. And so they're bringing kids from their relationships into this new relationship with two mums, and they're just mothering these 3, 4 kids together. Um, Leia loves it. Leia loves it, and we've been like, you've been watching the family too much. Okay, watch something else now. This and that. Um, it's been really interesting because I've in doing youth work, I have watched youth who have grown up in the church, and then the next I see them, non-binary, this and that, but I'm just like, raw, like this is interesting. Equally, I have seen, and this is more prevalent, kids grow up in church and then they end up with body dysmorphia. They end up with not like some sort of, my body isn't the same as this body, or I need to be like this to be attractive, I need to be like that to be attractive, this Hollywood notion of beauty and stuff like that. There is some element of interaction with their body and acceptance of who they are, that as God made them, not as their perception of themselves, that to some degree we are doing wrong or we don't really have a handle on. Now, obviously, in terms of your figure, your physical body, exercise, eating right, blah, all of these things have an impact on it. So if you're not eating right and then you're just doing whatever, physically your body is not going to respond or look in a certain, it's going to look a certain way. I say all of that to say my scope in terms of these things, it includes the relational part of things in terms of boy, like gender and all of them things there, but it also includes how they view themselves physically and how they interact with themselves physically. I kind of view a thread that goes throughout all of that, just your self-identification that can kind of play out in different ways. I am Jamelia is like totally different from me in the sense that she won't let the kids watch Harry Potter, them things. I'm just like, yo, bro, is Wingardium Leviosa in it? Like, because I see the power of God as being stronger than that. But wisdom also says, just because the power of God is bigger than that, don't just expose your kids to it. Don't expose your kids to satanic, demonic things just because God can get them out.
Yeah.
That's not wisdom.
Only that's not instantation.
Yes. But equally so, I am like, this is the world that they're going into without us.
Yeah.
This is the world they're going into without us. As much as I'd like to prepare them and stuff like this, particularly Leia, she's starting to go to youth clubs and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I have absolutely no say over what other people say and bring into those youth clubs.
Yeah.
As much as I believe that the youth clubs are doing their due diligence, like to keep the space as good as it can be, inevitably things are going to slip in that aren't supposed to be there. And so I'm almost like, it kind of goes back to the innocent, not naive idea that I have. I don't want her being caught off guard when these things happen. I want to know that she's exposed to it. We can have a conversation about it, blah, blah, blah. Like when Leia asked me about the rainbow flag, and we had this conversation and everything, and just being open in dialogue in that way, so that hopefully when she engages with them outside, either we have covered them or we have a communication style that she's able to bring it back. And we can have these conversations because inevitably she's going to come across a same-sex relationship at some point.
Yeah.
And I would want her to be able to interact with them, not looking at them like aliens. So I would want her to almost see this as, oh yeah, like it happens, because it does happen. But in accordance to faith, it is not supposed to happen. And so, yeah, it's just like, nah, this happens, and we are still called to love them to some degree. So I don't want her being blindsided by that. And I don't want her almost like seeing them and then her eyes widening for a split second. Like, oh, wow. I don't want that response. Because that in and of itself might make her a target. And so, yeah, I want to desensitize her to that to some degree whilst having these conversations around what we believe God is saying, how he's caused us to live. Man's trying to drink water now.
Too late.
Like how he's calling us to live and stuff. Because yeah, I feel like sometimes we can shy away from what the world actually is to the detriment of the next generation. But I like wisdom says bad company corrupts good character. And so there seems to be this line to toe that I haven't quite I haven't quite figured it out yet. But I'm kind of just taking it as it comes, recognizing that each child is somewhat unique. And so, but thankfully, if Leia's watching something and the people start swearing, she turns it off.
Nice.
Like without me having to say anything. She's just like, nah, they're saying bad words, and she turns it off. If they're talking about relationships too much, she'll turn it off. She's just like, yeah, like they're talking about boyfriends and stuff, and I don't really like it. And she won't even, when they're swearing, she won't even repeat the words. She'll say, oh no, they're saying bad words. And so thankfully we've instilled it into where she recognizes it, and she recognizes that as a family we don't interact with it. It doesn't shock her in that way, but she's also like, I'm not going to interact with this even from an entertainment perspective. Yeah.
Nah, that's good. Yeah. Fair. Robert, any thoughts on that?
It's gonna sound a bit crazy, but I feel like as Christians we need to be a bit toxic with how we're raising our kids. Give the boys blue, give the girls pink. If the girl if boy trying to play with the Barbie, slap her out of his hands. I'm foolish.
Do you know what? Yeah, this may be controversial, but I feel like that is part of the problem.
No, because I feel like that's why us not going down that path.
No, because I feel like for some people, their responses or their interactions with gender fluidity and stuff like that has predominantly been due to societal restrictions. And they're not trying to conform to societal norms anymore. And so a girl will still be like, I'm still a girl, but I don't want to conform to that. So call me they, them. I don't conform to society's norms. I'm not a traditional female or whatever. And it's like they're trying to break away from the quote unquote patriarchal, stereotypical roles placed on women, without actually recognizing the nuance and why is there in the first place. And so sometimes it's from that rebellion to what a woman is seen to be or what a man is seen to be. And because I'm pushing against it, I'm going to go all the way. The pendulum's going to swing all the way. I'm going to embrace this femininity or masculinity and just embody that as my identity, as almost like a middle finger to society and religiousness and stuff. So yeah, so some of the people that I've spoken to anyways, it seems as though it's more of a rebellion, or that there's a rebellious nature to it. Going against norms, going against expectations, and not wanting to be labeled in that way. And so when you throw away the pink from a boy, for example, and it's like, nah, this is what you need to do. When he goes into arguably, sometimes when some of them go into a space where their femininity is almost affirmed, they're like, oh, wow, I never knew. And then boom, it's just a slippery slope.
But to counter that, I think that it's different from our generation, because like in our generation, if you wanted to be anti-establishment or whatever, you might go and become goth, wear the black,
yeah,
listen to Slipknot, all of that. And that's something that as you grow older, you can keep if you want to, and you see people still being goth in their high stilettos and all of that. There's a difference between that and saying that you're a whole new gender.
Yeah, facts.
And I think that the problem with kids is we always, or not we, but kids always think that they are the high standard of intellectualism when they know very little.
Yeah,
and a lot of the time they can't be told, especially by their parents. So if your parents is saying one thing in their stupid cockle heads, that must mean, okay, let me go do the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
and
and
that's what I feel like. Even though toxicness is toxic, if we can implant these toxic ideas now, then they will impart their toxicness into their friends rather than their friends implanting other toxic ideas into their heads.
I hear that.
That'll be my.
Yeah, I mean, the human psyche works in strange ways, and like traumas and stuff. I say strange ways. It works in like traumas and experiences and stuff kind of influence it and affect it to kind of fork out in ways that are unexpected, or can be unexpected. But in addition to what you said, in terms of the younger you are, the more you think you know. Like the proverb that says, "A barrel half full makes the loudest noise. An empty barrel makes the loudest noise. But once it's full, it doesn't really make that much noise." And that's unfortunately the truth in terms of wisdom. The more you know, the less you speak, almost, or the less noise you make. But yeah, I definitely think that it is a case by case situation, and taking your child's personality and temperaments into consideration is something to do. And how you've been intentional, like the certain things that you've been intentional about developing. So, for example, with Peter, that resilience that you're building in Zara, in terms of you've been given a sweet, you can hold it, but you can't eat it until you get home. Some parents may say, "Oh, that's punishment." Like they're just going to be there, but without recognizing that it's building a resilience, and it's building this delayed gratification mindset of, I can actually put in the work. I may not see the results today, but if I keep putting in the work, I will see it later on. Yeah. But if the person just has absolutely no self-control, it's mad. But we know that by virtue of Zara being able to do it, even though she's asking you for her presence like 100 times in a day, she's got that resilience, or at least there's been intentionality around building it. So yeah, there is this temperament and stuff. If she was ADHD, she may not be able to do that. Again, neurodivergence stuff kind of comes into play. So yeah, there's definitely a sense of individuality. Yeah, but I do see quite a few of these things as like trauma responses and a push and a rebellion. And so there is the mindset of how do I intentionally work in a way that factors in this person's growth as I am trying to implement these things.
I think that it being the nature of children, whatever you do, your kids are going to say you cause trauma in their lives.
Facts.
So you might as well cause positive trauma that will lead them down the right road, or that will lead them down the rightest or the more right out of roads. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy out in these streets.
Fam, it is, it's wild. It's so wild.
Yeah.
And
so wild.
And like, if it means that my son is bullying kids in school because they want to be called a girl when they're a boy, if it stops him go down that path, it ain't the worst thing in the world.
Robert is wild.
Why is true? It's true. I'd rather my son be the bully than be the bullied. Because then he'll come to me and say, "Look, Dad, they're bullying me because I want to be a girl." I'm not going to say there when I know they're right.
That's one of them. Your fearfully and wonderfully made conversations, boy.
Nah, because you say fearfully and wonderfully made, and I'm like, okay, so God made me this way. Let me go live for my truth.
Nah, that's the I'll be like, that's your misunderstanding what God is saying. He fearfully and wonderfully made the way you are. as a male or as a female, like you're fearfully and wonderfully made like that. But
And
even that comes into question.
and then they'll go have a conversation with their friends, their teacher, come home. Dad, you being transphobic, you know.
Yeah. I mean, even that gets sticky when you come to like hermaphrodites and stuff.
No,
I'm not even sure.
Hermaphrodite.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that's politically correct to say anymore.
Nothing is politically correct to say anymore.
No, because they were the original transgenders, weren't they?
Yeah.
But now transgender means something completely different.
Not necessarily that. I don't think there was ever. Anyway,
Are you Google searching hermaphrodites?
I'm Google searching if a hermaphrodite can impregnate themselves.
I don't think they can produce both semen and have ovaries. So I think you may have one. You may have ovaries or have testicles.
Yeah. So even in those cases, I don't think there's always a leaning towards one. And again, I mean, any and all deformities are evidence of a fall in nature, evidence of a deviation from the original. So even with those, I don't think it's ever a thing, like a valid point.
Yeah.
Because if they can't get themselves pregnant, then evidently one is working, one is not working.
That would be so wild, you know. You got your own self pregnant.
Well, that's just pure incest, isn't it?
That's what happened in Thing. What was it called? Misfits.
Oh yeah, I remember that actually.
Yeah. There was the guy that could swap between me and the guy and the girl.
Yeah.
He busted out as a guy and then used the same tissue when he was the girl, and then he impregnated himself. Oh, good times, man.
Yeah. But I mean, just on this, I hear. I mean, I actually even hear your point, Robert. I get what you're saying. I don't think it's the right. It's the right prescription.
No, and Peter, I'm with you. I fully hear it. Hear it. It's like drawing a line. At some point, you just draw a line.
But it's just, I think there's so many factors that come into play. There is we have educated ourselves into stupidity side of things, where unfortunately, schools are going to start propagating this. Universities already have. So you're going to get authorities, academics that are spouting the same nonsense. Oh yes, a man can get pregnant. We see it, like I see clips of this in the Senate, like you see in courts, academics, professors, passionately making these arguments like, no, a man can't get pregnant and your statements are transphobic and incite violence. All of this nonsense. There's that. There's also the rebellion, but then there's also what has largely become pretty much an epidemic, the breaking of the home. A lot of these things you'll have in single mother, single father, like households where maybe one of the parents aren't as involved as they should be, whether that's incarceration, whether that's intentional, whether that's spiteful. There's so many different factors that come into play, and so it's like it's a concern. But I think, as you said, Mo, it's sort of having the communication lines open and having a relationship that encourages that. I also see, I've been thinking about this, the sort of pressurized can theory. So like if you step on like Robert, as you were drinking your however many Fanta, if you step on that Fanta whilst it's closed, because the pressure inside is equal to or exceeds is equal to the pressure outside, it won't crumple. But then if you open it and you pour it out, when you step on it, it will crumple because the pressure is not able to equalize. And so, filling them up with God, with truth, with light, such that when they go out, it's able to counter the darkness. That's also one aspect of things. And it's like, it's peak. It's so peak. But
there's like, is that enough though? Because you see so many kids that have grown up in Christian households.
Growing up in a Christian household doesn't make it.
Doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't. Growing up in a Christian
Well,
household
it does
doesn't
mean
make you
something.
any
It
more
doesn't mean
Christian.
anything.
Yeah, but it doesn't make you any more Christian
Oh,
than
no,
standing
no.
in the garage making to your car.
No,
It doesn't.
No, but I say being in a Christian household in terms of what you were saying about bringing them up through the word.
Where there's intentionality, where
Yes.
there's
Do you know
yes,
what?
no.
Even with this conversation, I'll take it back to the impact of fathers that Peter dropped in the men's group, his house men's group. Living in a Christian household, there are plenty past his kids who have just gone left. There's a relational integrity that the parents need to have with their children. An intimacy, a connectivity that needs to be there in order to actually instill these values and these principles. Otherwise, you're just seen as a hypocrite. You're preaching the God of love when you're not loving at home. You're cold and disconnected. But also, and I think this is key. A real transformation is only by the Holy Spirit.
That's it. Yeah.
And so, we can preach that there was a real backlash with the purity culture because people were keeping themselves pure, thinking that was their righteousness. And so they got into marriages now thinking, oh yeah, I've been a virgin all my life, blah, blah, blah. And the sexual act now was tainted because all their life they've seen it as sinful without realizing
I'm supposed to enjoy this when I've conditioned myself to see us, And
so I think real transformation is only by the Holy Spirit. And so, yes, it doesn't. Faith that works is dead. It isn't a case of us not doing everything and just anything and abandoning everything onto God. But God calls us to submit and to work and to walk after Him. And so, it's very much a case of coupling all of our activities with prayer and all of our activities being in a conducive relationship where God's love is actually felt and experienced through our interaction with them. Bro, like Amelia asked me, what would I do if Noah was like came home and he said he's gay? And I said to her, I would just be like, cool, like it is what it is. I'll still love him as my child. I won't turn him away. And that shocked her. And I'm like, yo, like, I'm his parent. I'm not gonna. Yes, there's a way that I'd want him to live. It's his life. Unfortunately, he's going to sizzle in hell. I can't do that for him. No one's there. It's him. But even in the midst of what I deem and what I believe is sin, I will still extend the love of the Father to you. I will still love you as a father. And maybe that may be the acceptance you need to look beyond me and see Jesus. I don't know. But I will still love you in a way that, like, bro, I was moving mad. But for God so loved the world, He sent His only begotten Son. And thankfully, I'm not moving as mad anymore.
Yeah. Cool.
That was a solid, 40 minutes deep. If I can I throw out a question to you guys?
I mean, it's the last one. You might as well.
This is an open air question. How do you respond to the Christians who are vehemently against Christmas?
I saw a post like this on Instagram. When I saw it, I was just thinking, oh, shut up, bro.
Remember, happy Hanukkah, season's greetings.
And like, I don't know, why do Christians feel like they need to do the most? If you don't do Christmas, the world doesn't need to know that you don't need to do Christmas. Just be shush, man.
Jesus weren't born on the 25th. It's a pagan holiday. The Christmas tree is a phallic symbol with the baubles, the balls. Bro, I've heard someone preaching on that. The Christmas tree.
I've preached on it. Well, not on that. Well, I've preached on this.
You preached on Halloween too.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I heard you preach, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah, and I brought this in, yeah, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm the same. I think I wouldn't I wouldn't feel the need to convince them of otherwise,
Mm.
because to some extent they aren't necessarily wrong. Like the Yule log and the Christmas tree and presenting the presents and all of that, you know, a lot of that symbology does have pagan roots. Now, does that mean that's what we're doing when we do it? No. Because, you know, just the symbol doesn't mean anything if you don't give it that context. Like, I could write anything, you know, and the Chinese person come and say, oh, that kanji means this. It's like, well, I was doodling something, you know. It doesn't have to mean the same to me. And I don't have to approach it with that intent.
Yeah.
You know, when Z's opening her presents, I mean, unfortunately, we did a whole lot of work before Christmas. Like, yeah, there's no Father Christmas, and Mom and Auntie and this are giving you the gifts. You say thank you to them, and then she goes into school the last week, and then they bring Father Christmas in, and like now she's in church, like, yeah, Father Christmas.
Do you know what?
Such a wasted effort.
You know what? It was when Chris was like, "What did Jesus save us from?" And she said, "The Jews."
Oh, nosy. Yeah.
You know what? Everyone turned immediately to look at Peter.
These times, I tried to teach her about substitutionary atonement, and she's like, "Okay, Jesus is on the naughty step." I was like, "Yeah." So it's yeah. I think I think that there is some truth to the fact that, you know, they've sort of they did bring in two different things, and sort of bring it together, but at the same time, it's like that doesn't stop you from recognizing we are celebrating the arrival of the savior of the world.
Yeah.
Like, we are, you know, and you can make it about that if you want to. If you don't want to have a Christmas tree, you don't want to celebrate it in any way, go to work on Christmas Day, that's cool, that's you, it's fine, you know. But if someone else is, again, it's one of those things. For me, it's the meat eating, not eating meat, you know, situation. This isn't going to take me to heaven or deny me entry. Therefore, it's not a hill to die on. That's just my approach to it. Yeah.
It's fascinating because in doing all of these historical fact finding stuff, it's interesting what people want to fight against.
Yeah.
So I've heard stories that football originated by slave owners kicking the heads of slaves.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how true that is, but there's the argument around, this is not Christmas, but do you watch football?
Well, do you call the 5th or 4th day of the week Thursday? Because that's a reference to Thor. Are you worshipping Thor on Thursday?
Bro, August, like all of these things are references to different things, and it's just like, oh, cool. So where are you on that?
Yeah.
Or do you live by the Jewish calendar? So yeah, it's interesting where we pick and choose what we take offense at religiously.
Yeah.
When if we want to be holy, then take a swath across all of modern culture.
Yeah.
I heard someone say like they shouldn't be playing drums and guitars and stuff in the church because it's not mentioned in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. I bet that's one of your Reformed Calvinist people, though.
No, it was a very charismatic.
Oh, for real?
A very charismatic person. And this isn't, I know he might watch this. This isn't like a dig at him, but he almost reminds me of Ade.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how much zeal he had. And it's just
yeah.
But it's just like, like all of these things shouldn't be in the church because it's not in the Bible. And I'm like, bro, so what? We should be sitting around with harps.
Yeah. Because I've heard similar, but it was I heard this from like proper reformed, like Calvinist, like all the way. You know, like, why are you even singing in church and dancing in church? Like, what's that about? That wasn't, it's just not. I'm like,
Even
David
danced in front of,
dance, man. David
to the
dance.
point where he looked naked. Like,
People just need to understand
this guy's got a headache. He came like this.
you know what? It was be the people that tried to sound the deepest about everything.
Bro.
Robert came with that. I've had enough of this.
And you know what? I'm a simple man. You know, all my life.
Away from someone.
December 25th, Christmas. Easter Sunday, Easter. What happened? Easter, we recognize and celebrate the death of Jesus. You know, even if it's just that once a year, and then for the rest of the year, we might not ever read that part in the Bible again. In the same way, Christmas, celebrating the birth. You can't have the death without the birth.
Fam.
It's the beginning and the end of the story. You know?
That's almost like getting at Muslims during Ramadan when you see them doing next things throughout the year. It's like, what are you doing?
No, you can't, isn't it? You can't. Yeah. So yeah.
And like, it's not like we'd be like trying to dig into the Christmas story most of the year anyway.
Bro.
And even within the Christmas story, we see prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, which add to his claim of being the one that the scriptures were talking about. So if you want to be nitpicking about that, let that be the one time that those scriptures are at least have been fulfilled in your Bible.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm not sure if Z School did Christmas carols. You're muted, I think.
They did, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and like Leah Noah School, they were fully singing Christmas carol, like the Holy Bible says Jesus is the Savior. And I'm just like, yo, like parents are coming to watch their children do. Bro, there was Muslims, there was Hindus, and their children are singing Christ died for you.
Well,
and they're having to clap.
Yeah.
Because you cannot not clap for your kid.
Next time, don't send your child to St. John's School.
well, no, this is the thing. This is why I thought I'd get away with the whole Father Christmas thing, because she goes to Catholic school. I thought, yeah, they definitely won't be bringing no Father Christmas in.
Bro, Catholics, you know what Catholics be doing?
Hey.
Next month she'll be coming with her whole rosary.
Smells and bells. She'll be coming with the incense.
Zizi prays before she eats. She started adding, now the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'd have that, I'd have that over some of the other stuff. So yeah,
bro. Yeah, yo. Do you know what? Yeah, it wasn't until I was working in a church where later must have came through sometime, and we had like prayers on the board that all of us would say at the same time. Ever since then, whenever she's going to prayers, like, I want to pray from the prayer book. Where's the prayer book? I'm like, what sort of liturgical child am I raising right now?
So Peter, what happens if Zara starts praying to Mary?
I'm not in this house, you want?
You see Peter burst through the door.
Stop that. That's gay. No.
See, this is the toxic energy we need to raise our kids. We need that toxic energy. Come on.
Listen, stop that. That's gay. So if you have a son and he's praying to Jesus, would you say it's gay?
No. But it's...
Are you gay?
No, admittedly, like, I was very, very particular about her getting into a religious school, be it Church of England or Catholic, because it allows me to at least sort of delay having to worry so much about the teachers imputing nonsense. Now, theological disagreements are fine,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she can come home praying to Mary, and actually, and I don't think Anita will mind me saying this, because Anita was praying and had oil and prayed over her with oil and everything, and the significance of that is the oil was always a symbol of the Holy Spirit. It allows you to just do that, fine. But even then, we've had to start having a conversation with her. It's like, no, not the oil isn't healing you. The oil just represents the Holy Spirit, which is already in you. You don't necessarily need oil. It just allows us to, visualize a
Yeah.
concept, right? And so it will just be that. It would be like, yeah, no, Mary was blessed. She was unique amongst women. She was thingy. But I think even Catholics don't actually pray to Mary. I've heard this guy, I think he does a YouTube channel, Council of Trent, talk about this. We're not praying to Mary, we're mentioning her prayers or whatever, or at least he gave some rationalization of it. But it will just be that I'm actually much happier with, like, let's have a theological, reckoning of this as opposed
Yeah.
to some of the other stuff. So that's I choose that battle over some
Yeah.
of the others,
And
honestly.
I definitely echo that. I would want my children to experience faith for themselves and come back with questions or even challenges.
Yeah.
To be like, oh yeah, no, you said this, but I was here and I heard this. What are you saying about that? And for us to have these conversations, because particularly when they hit their teenage years, they start to push against the boundaries and the norms that you have set within the household to establish their own.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it invites and welcomes this dialogue in a way that, because I heard, and I may be butchering this, but rabbis actively encouraged or invited questions and challenges from their students, because it was in that their thinking and their theology was shaped and molded.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just sit down and listen to what I'm saying, but no, like challenge, bring questions, do this. And that's why even we see the disciples probing and asking questions. How often should I do this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really hard. Like they were bringing things, and in that discourse, they were having their ideas and their mentality shaped. And so, yeah, it was in that living of life and in that exchange where, and it's also validating to know. Yeah.
I was going to say, further to that point, you have to appreciate. So when I was tutoring, it was GCSE science, integrated science or something. Sorry, Z's just getting out of bed. I have to go catch her. Oh, she wants wee wee. I have to go catch her quickly.
Cool.
Okay. I'll finish the story. So people were doing integrated science. I'm joking. But and I think we also need to remember that I think sometimes as adults we can forget what it was like being kids, and as parents we can forget what it was like being children.
Yeah.
And like I know for me, as much as I want to be, the most amazing dad and be like, yo, guys, let's sit down and read the Bible time. When my mom tried to do that, I was annoyed.
Oh, bro.
And it's like, it's very rarely that when people talk about their influences in their faith, that they mention their parents.
Yeah.
But like, if they do, it'll be like, oh, my mom was praying at 4 a.m. in the morning. And
slathering me with oil. I'd wake up a month. Yeah.
It's never anything positive. So, yeah, so I guess the job as parents is to almost help your children develop critical thinking. And I hope that they can use that to traverse the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like we think we're being helpful, but to the kids they might feel like we're being overbearing or suffering, or trying to like overpower their ideas and ideals with our own. I remember that I did like when my mom did that. Chances are my kids won't like you when I do either.
This is the thing.
Unless you're gonna go down that route and be like, "Oh, you're free, do whatever you want."
Yeah, that's yeah. It's yeah. That's I've found that intensity doesn't work, and freedom doesn't work. And so there is this intensity within freedom that you almost need to find. That somehow finding this intensity without freedom, or not necessarily intensity, intentionality within freedom, where you give your children freedom to explore and to build and to do things, but even within that, you're still intentional about introducing these key concepts and principles and stuff. And again, it will be unique to each family makeup. There will be similarities and stuff like prayer, the Bible, worship, church, fellowship and stuff, but the way that it actually fleshes out will be unique to each family. And as you have kids and as you grow up, as they grow up and you grow with them, it will be interesting to kind of figure it out. It's the way that I've tried to do it is.
I just repeat so that he knows what we're talking about. We're talking about how, like, we may have the best intentions to be, the best parents, bringing the faith into the household, but our parents tried to do that for us, and we found it annoying and overbearing. And so how do we do it in such a way, knowing that our kids might feel the same way as we did when we were kids?
Got you.
I feel like one thing that I have found really helpful, even when I first came to faith, was like testimonies. And it doesn't have to be these grandiose things. Just like, oh yeah, like I was running late for a meeting and I was stuck in traffic and I was just praying. I was just like, God, I really need to get there on time. And traffic just kind of cleared up and I was able to kind of get there. I got there just in the nick of time, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I was late, but other people were very accommodating and this and I see that as like just God coming through for me and stuff. And I very much see it as being an example and inviting your children into it, and intentionally walking with them, potentially highlighting where God is at work within their lives to kind of help them not see it as this
big supernatural thing.
Yeah, this thing that happens on a Sunday or whatever, but integrated into their lives. Even stuff as simple as like, which I think we're all doing. Kids, oh, I've got a headache. Oh, let me pray for you. Like little things like that. Oh, I'm not feeling too well. Let's pray. I had a bad day today. I had a bad dream. Let's pray about it. And go back to sleep again. Like all of these.
Like whenever Andrea comes to me with headache, I'll be like, have you had water today?
I mean, faith works. But yeah, it's really trying to integrate it into their day-to-day where they hopefully get to a point where they don't see a distinction between life and faith, but faith is working through life, which it is. Unfortunately for Christians, we become Power Rangers where we morph into this thing on a Sunday and then we just leave as soon as or whenever we're going through warfare, that's when we morph into it. Yeah.
But so Peter, how do you feel like your experiences as a child with Christian parents has affected your parenting style as a Christian parent?
No, because I think I'm very fortunate in that I don't think my parents did it wrong per se. They made lots of mistakes. They weren't perfect by any measure, but my mom complained us into church, and if she hadn't, we wouldn't have gone. And if we didn't go, we wouldn't have learnt about Christ as much as we did. Like, it was necessary. And so, like, again, that's me again sort of saying I hear the sentiment with the toxic with the
Mm.
toxicness sometimes,
And what?
because like my mom, to some extent, I don't even think she ever really cared as to whether or not we were like, are they actually
No, I
getting
hear it.
anything
I hear
from
it.
church? It was, you have to go to church. Why are you not going to church? It's Sunday morning. Go to church. And again, we grew up in Ghana. We didn't really have a choice. We could either go to church, or we could say we were going to church and not go somewhere and go somewhere else. But then again, we also had a fear of God that meant if I knew I was going to lie about going to church, I mean, I'd have to walk past the church to then, like, I did go to church. I didn't stay there long, but I was there, sort of thing. So that God wouldn't strike me down. It's. I think, as Mo said, it's. Well, sorry, answering your question. I think what my parents did, I've learned from, and there were lots of good things they did. There were lots of times where my opinion, which was so poorly informed at
Mm.
8, 9, 10 years old, didn't matter, And I'm going to do the same thing to Zara, Sorry, I don't care. You don't really have a voice until you have something you can say.
That's that toxic I'm talking about, bro. That's your feelings, bro.
But then there were other things. There were other things where, again, I see differences. Like the relationship I have with my mom now is new. It's not new as in like yesterday or something. It's new as of maybe just before I got married,
Mm.
where there was a mutual respect, where there was a recognition that I'm not a young kid anymore. I'm an
Mm.
adult, Whereas I think with Sarah, the relationship will be different because by God's grace, I'm being very intentional. So the way I was with her, no, 1, 2 is not as much 3, 4. I'm
Yeah.
giving her more responsibility. I'm allowing her to like express herself, even as much as your expression doesn't mean much if you don't have it doesn't have much substance. But the idea of understanding that your voice matters, understanding that
Mm.
it's important, you're able to express yourself, you're able to articulate what you want, what you feel. Yes, you might be able to clearly articulate, I want some ice cream. That's good. Doesn't mean you're going to get ice cream. Stuff like that. And so it's learning, it's taking the good things that they did and
Mm.
replicating it, understanding the different times. So I can't willy nilly beat my kids the way my dad beat me.
I like the willy nilly every now and then.
you know,
No, that's it.
because there's different context to it. But then again, I can't say I was traumatized by that. I can't, like, honestly speaking, and maybe some psychotherapist is looking at me like, oh, you're showing all these signs. I don't see it. Like, I was beaten. I was beaten with like hose. I was beaten with tree branches, all right? But then I look
Damn,
back
you
on
were
those
that kid.
but I look back on it and it's like, well, punishment was justified for some of those behaviors.
Mm.
And the way I translate it now is slightly different. I said on the podcast before, when Z was really young, she would get this. Like, she would get
Mm.
this. And not like, genuinely, I can genuinely say, not in a crazy way, but enough to make her like, this isn't good. And anytime I've done something bad, this is associated with it, right? Now, someone's like, oh, don't beat your children. Technically, it's beating, but that's not really beating your child. Like, she's not getting beaten up.
That's a little tap.
Bro, come to Africa, I will show you about beating.
I'll flog you.
And so it's like, but the same, and that's where, again, I think it's a maturing of the process, because that process back then was, there's behaviors that are associated with pain, and I can't really understand why this behavior is bad, but I can understand that the pain associated with it is bad, and therefore I don't want to do those things, as a young kid. And
Yeah.
Zara got that from this, which by no measure is beating, but in her tiny little brain, she's so ready to cry, that was enough. And so she, like, that boundary was set, and since I haven't had to use it. because it was like once or twice you get that one thing, and then it's like there's an understanding. I don't understand why this is bad, but I know that's bad, and that's associated with this. Therefore, this is bad. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And as she's grown, now we're able to talk about things because we can reason, and there's no need to do that anymore, like, because there is no need to do it. And so it's, yeah, sorry, I've gone in circles. What my parents did, a lot of what my parents did was good. I am taking that and sort of recontextualizing it for our times. A lot of what my parents also did was not so good, and I'm trying to learn from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
for me.
We can't really throw the baby out of the bathwater in terms of the way we've been raised, but it's learning, adapting, molding, and making our own mistakes. Because without a shadow of a doubt, our kids are going to go up and be like, "Oh yeah, you messed up my life." At some point,
I'll be like, at least you ain't wearing a dress.
you would have messed up your own life, damn boy. But yeah, But I have to say, in all my frustration and angst with my parents, when I was much younger, as I have grown up, I have understood more of their point of view. I've understood more of their point of view and more of why they did what they did, even without them having to communicate that to me. I've recognized my parents' priorities and like what their principles and stuff were, and how they tried to raise me by those principles. Now, some of them I may have gone against, but now I'm in a space where I'm able to articulate, this is the reason why I went against that. And so that's now something that I am like, my children aren't going to adopt all of my principles. But in knowing that, how can I be intentional about helping them shape their principles? I'll expose them to mine, see whichever one sticks, whichever ones don't stick. Hopefully I can have a conversation as to why that's a principle, how that's helped me out, blah, blah, blah. If it doesn't stick, still, as they're developing theirs, almost act as an advisor and be like, okay, what sort of stuff are you putting in place here? How is that going to help you? Let's try forecasting the future, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, kind of seeing that as a guiding principle. There's a Khalil Gibran quote or snippet from his book that says you can't have your children live your life or be an extension of your life, but you can only guide them to live their own. And it's like parents are almost like the bow from which their children are launched from. So all of your experiences and stuff, you can only pull them as back as your experiences and then launch them into their own experiences. But hopefully, as taught and stuff as you are as a bow, as you release them, that's the preparation that you're giving them to go out and live their own lives. And hopefully they'll then become bows to kind of launch the next generation and stuff. And so, yeah, it's trying to launch them out into their lives as best as possible.
Sorry, the point I was going to make before I left, just to bring it back, because I think I want people to hear this and to know, like, the schools, the system that we're in, if your kids are in public school, the schools aren't trying to help you.
No.
Especially if you're Christian. Like, I was given a story about when I was tutoring, and one of my students, a science student, and in the textbook, right, talking about like the origin of the species, evolution, they are quoting, like they're saying religious people have been a hindrance to this progressing because they hold outdated views. This is in their textbook, right? And they're taking everything from, this is the nature of matter, gas, liquid, solids. They're taking all of these facts from the same textbook, and the same textbook is telling you, your parents, if you had, the student had religious parents, also is holding outdated views. It's like they're getting taught this in schools, and so it's important that we recognize the battle we're facing in trying to. Teach this. That kid, I may have traumatized that kid, because I read that and I was like, yeah, well, they can't even say fully what actually happened at the Big Bang, and well, there was nothing and then it became something, and how can you derive something from nothing? So actually they're also asking for one miracle. We're just saying we know the solution of the miracle. So it's not really outdated. I was like, the kid that wanted to pass their exams. That's all I was there for.
Bro, and that's go for it.
So I was just, no, you go first. You go first. Oh.
I was just gonna say, and this is within the text, as you said, it's not even the teacher kind of making an offhanded quote. This is in their textbook.
It's in their curriculum.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, like, and there's a whole nother level of conversations and stuff that they're having with these teachers that you will never know about.
Fact.
Yeah.
And then that's how it starts with, oh, you know, let's just keep this between us, and then and then all of that. Like, I remember seeing one video on Instagram where this dad was collecting went to go and collect his son from like nursery, and they dressed him up in a dress. And in nursery, and he was like, "Don't ever dress up my son in a dress again." Like imagine if he'd come like 5-10 minutes later, he would never have known that's what I was doing. And then later on, when his son's wearing the dress, he's gonna be like, "But where did that come from?" And have no idea whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think we have to do our best. We have to do our best to expose them to as much truth as we can. And then pray is the other thing. Pray that the Spirit does everything else.
As Peter says, like, work as if it all depends on you, and pray as if it all depends on God.
Because it all depends on God, yeah.
Bro, it's wild. It's wild. But I have, like, my personal testimony is like, bro, I wanted to be a vampire at one point. I watched Blade and I was like, yo, this is wavy. I used to look at my teeth and be like, oh, are they coming out? Like, bro, thankfully I didn't drink blood or nothing like that. But like, I wanted to
where the bats at?
Bro, I wanted to be Blade at one point. Like, it was wild. The Charmed Power of 3, like, I was into all of that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, all of them things, I was fully into it. Look at me now, bro. Like, there's been a transformation. I may not be fully there, but there's a transformation. And so I am very much just like, I've witnessed and I have seen the transformation of God, even having been in it. And so I'm just like, this is not beyond God. This is not beyond God. Like, yeah, it is not beyond God. And so, yeah, there is this confidence in me, and it may be making me complacent. It's like, oh yeah, God can do the thing, innit? But I know deeply because of my own testimony that it's not beyond God. He's taking people from worse places, from cults, from the occults, from so many different places, and he's brought them into the kingdom of light. Now, yes, they've had to wrestle through the implications of that transition, but he's been able to do it. So yeah, it's not beyond God. It's not beyond God. Even Jackie Hill Perry, Gay Girl, Good God. Like, bro, like, there's been transformations. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that'd be a nice place to round up. Guys, listeners, Peter, you're muted. Guys, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's okay to be toxic. You know what, yeah? I know sometimes I sound wild, but it's just because I'm saying things out loud that people won't say. Like, I remember the other day I was talking. I've talked to you guys about this before, about how I know I'm going to have a favorite child. And the thing is, every parent is going to have a favorite child, regardless of what they say or how they might try and be equal. Everyone's going to have a favorite.
You just can't let them know.
Yeah. and the secret to making it not be toxic is what we do for your favorite, make sure you do equally for
The rest of them.
less favorites.
I think a better way to put it is it's okay to be described as toxic, because some of those descriptions will be incorrect, and you're just being principled.
Yeah, people are ask, like,
Very
what's
PC.
what's the difference between toxic and having morals? But that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
That's a very good, because even in the toxic camp, we can go down the whole alpha male, the whole like discipline, the whole
Sigma male.
yeah, just Andrew Tate. Yeah, we can go down that whole rabbit hole. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, man.
Oh, hookups. Did you say hookups?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I was making notes. I can give a hookup. So my hookup will be Free Code Camp. So 2024, if you want to pick up coding, if you want to learn another skill, maybe you want to transition between careers, Free Code Camp is an incredible way to do it. They have released a new interactive course for, I think, JavaScript that teaches you all the tenets or all the principles of JavaScript through making a number of projects. I think it's 4 projects, and then some certification projects to gain a certificate. But I'm going to be doing it next year, and this new sort of format I think will be really useful, because in as much as I've taken a course in coding before, I realized I can code, but I struggle to build like programs, because I can code to solve logic problems, but those aren't programs that everyone is using. So it's like I'm going to be taking this course to get that skill and move into it. And so, yeah, if you are considering it, it's completely free. This is the other thing. Absolutely free. So check it out. It's a really good resource.
Do you think it's a good way to get into the coding industry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you're in learning to do all these projects, you will be building up a portfolio. You will be building up like a GitHub profile that you can then use to do it. And yeah, you would already have some projects that you can then use as, these are things I've done to get into like a junior role, if you will. If you're going fresh in and you want to get like a junior software engineering role, I think this would be a good transition to get into that. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So,
my hookup is a Netflix cartoon going down the whole vampire rabbit hole. It's called Castlevania Nocturne.
Yeah.
It's not new, but it's almost like a sequel to the Castlevania animation. So yeah, Nocturne. It's about the child of the 2 protagonists from Castlevania kind of continues on.
Oh, is he their child?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's Belmont. So he's got the Belmont
Yeah.
bloodline, but then he's inherited his mum's powers and stuff. So yeah, he's their child.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was a child. All right, yeah.
Because at the end of Castlevania, mum's pregnant.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a time skip, and then it's just
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't realize it was a child. I'm like halfway through episode 2. Still. Yeah,
I haven't started it. It's in my watch list. I haven't started it.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right.
My hookup is a song by John Mayer. Comfortable. Great song.
Cool.
Oh, wow. Going to the gym is not easy. I'm feeling the pains already.
Doms.
I'm gonna go soak in the shower for a bit.
Ice bath, yeah.
No, I cannot do cold water at all.
That's the
This
other
is
thing
how I
about
know
the
you
gym.
didn't live in Ghana. This is how I know you did not live in Ghana.
The other thing about the gym is they've got a cold shower that's actually quite really useful. I
Did they
like
have a
it.
sauna there?
Sorry?
Did
They've got a
they have-
sauna in there, yeah. They've got a sauna and infrared sauna in there. But they've also got a cold shower, which is really good.
Nah, bro. Bro, if it was cold, I won't bath. I won't bath.
Bro, try it because actually I think it reduces the soreness after.
I'd rather be stored in bath in cold water.
Okay.
Like there've been times I've gone to boil the kettle to pour in the bucket. That's hot water.
The one thing that I love about cold showers, yeah, is how you breathe when the water hits you.
Yeah.
Nah, bro. The thing about the bath,
I don't think you ever get used to it as well. It's like every single time.
the bathroom is supposed to be my place of peace, a sanctuary. So I just need every experience in there to be a positive one.
Bro, yo, because in Ghana, who's boiling? Like you'd have to boil water in like a fat pot to go pour it. But long for that, put in the cold water.
Me, I'll do 4 or 5 trips. Happily.
By the time you finish the 5th, all the water's cold.
It's cold. But Ghana is easier. Ghana is easier to do. Like when we went to Ghana, I did cold showers the whole time.
No.
Cold baths, yeah.
Because the climate's so warm.
Because it's so hot. I'm doing cold showers now in the gym.
There's air conditioning, so I don't feel the hot weather.
It's tourist.
Until you step outside.
We still have stepping outside.
There was a time,
Rob's moving like a vampire.
he's moving like a tourist. He's no longer Ghanaian. He's British.
Right, man was eating Bangkok and corned beef the other day.
Yeah, but you can't do cold shower bath.
With a spoon, yeah?
Nah, with the hand. And the egg as well. I was just...
Hey. Bro, James and I went Barbados a couple years ago, yeah? About 4 years ago. I left the air conditioning on when we left our building. So we go out into the heat. As soon as we come back in, the room was just cool. Just straight into it. It was beautiful. But yeah, I think that would be a good place to round up.
Yeah. Shout out Reed for the intro outro music. Cameron Turner ordering a Mesa logo. Twitter at Furnace UK. Instagram at TBS Furnace. Email tbsfurnace@hotmail.com. You can find us at soundcloud.com/the Black Furnace, on all the podcasts, the websites, apps, Black Furnace with the apostrophe. What's this guy doing? What's on Burger King Clown? Anyway, this is the Blacksmith. Just signing out. Blah.
Blah.